If you're running a business today, you're caught in this incredible squeeze, right? You have to move at lightning speed to adopt AI just to keep up. But at the same time, you've got to manage these huge new risks. So let's get into it, because figuring this out is basically what's going to separate the winners from everyone else over the next decade. And hey, let's just be blunt about it. Ben Legg, who used to be the COO of Google Europe, just laid it out there. He said you need to move fast, but you don't want to end up, well, in jail. The stakes are not just about market share anymore. We're talking about very real, very serious consequences. It's the ultimate high-wire act for modern business. You know, what's kind of funny is that this whole problem, it isn't actually new. Tech companies have been wrestling with this for a long, long time. Just think about the early days of Google. They were constantly asking themselves, what are we? Are we just a platform, like a phone company, where we're not responsible for what people say? Or are we a media company, where we are responsible for the content? Well, that same exact question is now being aimed at AI, but the scale is just astronomically bigger.
Okay, so if that's the why, we have to get into the what. If you want to move fast without, breaking things or breaking laws, you've got to know the rule books. So let's take a look at the major global frameworks that are really starting to shape the world of AI.
Here's the cheat sheet. You've got the NIST framework, which is mostly a US thing, but it's super influential everywhere. It's voluntary. Then you have global standards like ISO, also voluntary. But the one you really have to pay attention to, the one with actual teeth, is the EU AI Act. It's mandatory if you do business in the EU, which means its reach is pretty much global.
Yeah, let's zoom in on the EU AI Act for a second, because this thing is a total game changer. It is the world's first comprehensive, legally binding set of rules for artificial intelligence. And here's the kicker. It doesn't matter where your company is headquartered. If your AI is used by people in the European Union, this law applies to you. Period.
The really smart thing about this act is its risk-based approach, which you can see in this pyramid. Way up at the top, you've got unacceptable risk. Think things like government social scoring systems. That stuff is just straight up banned. One step down is high risk, like AI used in healthcare diagnostics. That's allowed, but with super strict rules. Below that, limited risk, things like chatbots just need to be transparent. Tell people they're talking to a bot. And then at the bottom, minimal risk tools, like your email spam filter, are pretty much left alone to innovate.
And if you're thinking, it's probably just a slap on the wrist, you need to think again. The fines for not complying are absolutely massive. We're talking up to 35 million euros, or 7% of your company's entire global turnover. And they'll take whichever number is bigger. So yeah, ignoring this is just not an option.
All right, so we get it. There are rules. But how do you actually follow them? How do you put this into practice inside your own company? Let's get into how you can build your own AI playbook and turn all this theory into a strategy that actually works.
So, first things first, you got to pick a structure. You could go centralized, where one main team makes all the rules for everybody. That gives you consistency. Or you could go federated, which lets different business units adapt the rules to their own needs. That gives you flexibility. To be honest, in the real world, most big companies end up with some kind of hybrid of the two.
Look, governance isn't just a document, it's people. You need to assemble a dream team. You're going to need a leader, maybe a chief AI ethics officer, to own the vision. You'll need AI review boards, which are groups of people from legal, tech, and business who actually look at these AI systems before they go live. And so important, you need your data governance teams to make sure the data going in is clean and secure, and your developers, who are the ones actually writing this stuff into the code.
This whole process can feel huge, I know. But if you break it down into phases, it's totally manageable. The first 6 months, that's all about laying the foundation. The next 6 months, you're actually building out your policies and your tools. And then in the final stretch, you bring it to life. You're training people, running audits, and rolling it out across the entire company. Now, let's be real and talk about money. For a big company, getting all this set up, the people, the software, the whole infrastructure, can cost around $1 million to start. And yes, that's a serious investment. But as we're about to see, the return on that investment is even more serious. So what do you get for all this hard work and money? Well, this is not just about dodging fines. Good governance is actually a massive driver of business value. Let's look at the real, tangible return on investment here. I mean, the numbers really tell the story, don't they? Companies that get this right see a 20% bump in customer trust. They can grab up to 30% more market share in regulated fields because they can move with confidence. And yeah, of course, they get fined a lot less. It becomes a straight-up competitive advantage. And that's the whole point right there. You have to stop thinking of good governance as a cost center, as just this defensive thing you have to do. It's an offensive strategy. It's the engine that's going to drive value, build trust with your customers, and lead to real, sustainable growth in this new AI era.
But here's the thing. The goalposts are always moving. The rules we build today have to be ready for the AI of tomorrow. So, for our last section, let's look ahead and see what's coming next, especially with these incredibly powerful foundation models that are changing everything all over again. These foundation models, the engines behind things like ChatGPT, they bring a whole new set of headaches. I mean, how do you govern an AI that was trained on, like, the entire internet? You've got to figure out data sourcing and consent. You have to find and fix tiny biases that get blown up to a massive scale. And you have to be really, really careful about who gets to use these things and for what.
So, with all this complexity, all this constant change, what is the one single thing you have to do? It is so simple. Be proactive. Because if you aren't defining your own rules for AI, trust me, someone else will define them for you. Or worse, you'll have no rules at all and just stumble into breaking the law. You have to make the time to design your own future.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As this technology gets more and more intelligent, is our biggest challenge really going to be about governing the AI? Or is it actually about governing ourselves and applying the same kind of fairness and responsibility and foresight to our own actions that we expect from our algorithms?